Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly coding session. Today I come to you from the Innovation Connector in Muncie, Indiana. Just had a class in the room next door, and this is where we have our in-person classes. It's in the Innovation Connector, and so they've got the great facilities and have a lot of computers that we can use for our classes, robots, Lego robots, and things like that. Also have my kids running around in the background because they've been here with me as we're doing things. So if you see somebody come across the screen, don't worry. I'm not being attacked by some young child. I'm just here with my kids. So today we are going to try something new that I haven't done before or used a whole lot. It's the video sensing blocks in Scratch. And so I'm going to jump on over into Scratch. So when Scratch 3.0 came out, this is one of the new blocks that new sets of blocks that you were able to access. And so the way that we get to these blocks, and they're not in the normal set of blocks that we have with Scratch, they are down at the bottom where this plus block is. There's looks like it says add extension when you hover over it, but there are a lot of other options within Scratch, and that's how we connect to things like the Lego EV3 or some of the other tools that you can connect to with Scratch. You'd go to this add extension down at the bottom. So we click on that, and my screen's a little bit compacted, so you're not going to see everything like you may see on your screen, but there's something called video sensing on your screen. So I want to click on video sensing, and we have a new set of code blocks that opened up for us down at the bottom, and we can get to those again by clicking on video sensing from here. So I'm hoping that this works out well, where I've got the live stream going and using my webcam for the same thing, but I'm going to try to drag a block over. Let's see if I can make this screen smaller so that you can actually see what's happening on mine as well. I'm going to make the size just a little bit smaller this week so that we can fit more on the screen. And if we want to run a block quickly in Scratch just to see what it does, we can double click on it in the workspace. It says turn video on. We may get something asking us, and what you should have asking you in Chrome, to allow Google Chrome or whatever browser you're using to access your camera. So there should be something that pops up that says that. I don't see that on mine. I think it might be partly because I am using the webcam for something else, and it doesn't like being connected to that. So I have to figure out what we can do there. But we do have these blocks, and so the blocks that we are interested in, when video motion is greater than 10, and video motion on sprite. So you may be asked, what's when video motion greater than 10? What is that talking about? So 10 is a threshold or a limit to our blocks. Think of it this way: if we have video motion at 100, greater than 100, we'd have to be doing a lot of movement on the screen in order for the video sensing in Scratch to pick that up. If we have video motion set really low, at maybe 5, then we would just have to do a little motion and it would be picked up by Scratch. So that's what that number means. A number with video motion means how sensitive is our camera going to be to our movement on the screen. So I was trying around, couldn't find any great documentation from Scratch, but I just tested it, and that's what you should probably experiment with as well to see what works well for your game. Is I just tested it to see what would happen if I change this number, and that's what it came up with for me. I had to move a lot more when the number was higher in order to get it to work. So we're going to do a quick version of a Pong game, and I apologize that my camera is not showing up here in the screen. If you have yours and you did the turn video on, it should be showing your picture on that screen. not when video motion, but if I just brought this turn video on and clicked on it, you should be showing up on that screen on the right. You can also set the video transparency to, right now it's 50, meaning you're not showing up a whole lot. But if you change it to 100, that it's going to make your video disappear completely. So transparency is how much we can see through the camera that's showing up there. So we're going to try to create a quick Pong game, and I won't be able to test it a lot just because my camera's not showing up, but I've tried this, a little bit of it before, so I think we'll have most of the mechanics in place. So I'm going to get rid of my cat sprite, and I'm going to add a new sprite. That is a ball. So I'm going to make this ball whenever the flag is clicked. I want to make it move around all the time. And so I'm trying to make sure that that this ball is going to bounce and move around on the screen the way that I want it to. So I'm going to go to motion and move 10 steps. And I'm going to wrap that with control in a forever loop. So when flag is clicked, it's going to move. And then I know some of you like this block, and I've used it several times as well. Inside of motion, it says if on edge, bounce. So I want to put this inside the forever loop as well. So right now, this should just give us a ball that's bouncing back and forth across our screen. Mine's going a little bit farther on the left, onto the right than what it looks like, just because the size of the browser window made it. Actually, see if I can make that just a little bit smaller, or maybe even go full. Try that, and still going off a little bit, but that's okay. So we've got this ball going back and forth, and that's all that we're doing is bouncing it now forever. We want to set up a few systems. We want to set up a, if it hits one of the edges, I want us to lose. So I want my hands to go on either side of the screen. Try to position myself, and I want to cause my hands to be what makes the ball bounce back and forth on the screen. That's what we're going to use the video sensing for, is to detect if our motion is enough to make the to make the ball move across the screen. So what I'm going to do for the ball, I'm going to bring another event when flag is clicked in a forever loop as well. Just zoom in on the code. Go to the video sensing. I want to see if this is video motion on the sprite. So I'm going to go to control, bring in if then, operators, and then have this number. So remember what I talked about earlier, video motion, motion itself is a number threshold inside of Scratch. And so the higher the number, the more motion we have to do in order to make this work. So I'm going to get if the video motion on the sprite is greater than 10, then I want to make the ball move in another direction. But I'm going to make it move in the direction that my hands are hitting it. So if I'm going to have two hands, I don't want motion over here, which it won't be on the sprite, but I want motion so that I hit it and the direction is going that way. I want the ball to bounce in the direction that I'm kind of slapping it with my hands. And your hands will be up behind the ball in the Scratch workspace. So let's try that. So if there's video motion on the sprite greater than 10, then I'm going to get the direction on the sprite, and I'm going to change the direction of the ball. So I'm going to change, let's find it. Change X, point towards, mouse pointer, point in direction, direction on sprite. So what this is going to do is point my sprite in the direction that my video's direction movement is pushing the ball. So that should make the ball move in the same direction that we're slapping it. So forever, when flag is clicked, if video motion on the sprite is greater than 10, meaning that there's some kind of movement, and this, sorry, the desk is a little bit wobblier here, and so then I'm going to point in the direction on the sprite, and this loop is always saying move 10 steps, so it should just keep moving 10 steps. I want to get rid of this if on edge bounce for right now, because honestly, if we hit the edge, we want the game to be over. And so what I may do is in this, let's see if the forever loop, touching edge. So I'm going to do a control if then inside of this move 10 steps, sensing touching edge. So I'm always going to be moving 10 steps, and the direction is going to be handled by which direction that I'm moving my hand, whatever motion from the video sensing. If I'm touching an edge, then let's see, probably want to lose points. I don't really have a game over screen, but you can do whatever that makes sense for your game here. So this is how we could possibly score points. And if you wanted to figure out which edge it's touching, the way to do that would be to maybe draw a sprite, just a simple line all the way down this end and all the way down this end. That way you can detect if it's touching the left edge or the right edge. And we probably should make it bounce if it hits the bottom, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Right now it's when flag is clicked, forever, move 10 steps. If I'm touching an edge, then let's lose some points. So let's create a variable that we're going to call score. When flag is clicked, if touching the edge, then change score by -1. All right, and then maybe at the very beginning, we're going to set the score at the top of the flag to 0. Okay, so this is what this is going to do for us is we're going to check the video motion if it's ever touching the sprite. And this is actually pretty cool. You can change this number to see what works out well for your game, because sometimes, like yesterday, I was spinning in my chair a little bit and it detected the movement of the chair behind my head. So maybe you don't want it to detect all the movement. Maybe you have curtains in the background that are flowing. You don't want something to mess with your game that way. Change this number to something higher so that it has to be something that you're doing, that you're controlling, that you're making move. If the video motion is greater than 20, then point my sprite, the ball, point in the direction of the video direction on the sprite, which means which direction that the video is moving to make the sprite move. And that's going to change the direction and start making it move in another direction. Yeah, actually, I'm going to make this change a little bit. Actually, I do want it to bounce, just because if it hits the bottom, I'm going to, I want it to bounce back up. So I'm going to get rid of this if touching edge, put back if edge bounce. And then what I could do here, and I might go ahead and do that just because we have time today. I'm going to choose a sprite. Is there a line that I can use? A line. I'm going to take this line, I'm going to costumes, and I'm going to rotate it maybe. Yes. So if you click on any of the costumes inside of the costumes tab for a sprite, and you click on it and you see these arrows, that means you can hold the arrows with your mouse button and twist this around. And so I'm going to twist it around. I'm going to leave it there on the costume, but I'm going to move it over here. That way I can have that. And then I'm going to right click and duplicate this sprite, and I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go to costumes on the second one, change the fill color to blue. Click on this paint bucket. I click on my line. So I've got a blue one now. Go back to code and then drag this one all the way to the right side of the screen. So I'm going to leave the if on edge bounce here, but I'm also going to do some checks before that. So I'm going to say if touching line, which is the left-hand side. If you want to rename these variables, you can do that by clicking on the sprite, changing it. I'm going to change it to left. The other one I'm going to change to right. All right, go back to the ball. If touching left, then change. I'm actually going to have two scores now. So we had original score, and then now I'm going to make a variable for red score and another variable blue score. And I'm going to not show regular score by just clicking this check mark. If you don't want to show a variable on your screen, just uncheck it here and it doesn't show up. And then you can position these wherever you want by dragging them in your workspace. Okay, so we've got two variables here. I'm going to set them both to 0 to start the game. Red score to 0, set blue score to 0. I'm going to, in this forever loop, it's always going to move 10 steps. Remember, directions changed by the video motion. I'm going to move this up. If it touches the left, then blue is going to get 1 added to their score. Control if then, and I'm going to duplicate this block, but I'm going to say touching right. Then I'm going to duplicate this block, change red score by 1. So right now, without the video sensing, this ball is going to bounce back and forth on the screen. And it should be scoring points for us as we go. Scoring 3 at a time. I'm guessing it's touching it long enough that that's what's happening. These lines are a little thick, and so as it's crossing it before it hits the edge, then it will bounce. So that's what we're trying to do. We have two hands. We're trying to stop it from hitting our side by slapping the ball the other direction with our video sensing, and then that should change the directions of the ball as well. And the reason we did this score counting before we checked the edge is that we want to obviously get the scores first, but if it was on the edge, it would bounce away before it counted the score. So we definitely want to check the score first. And the reason we didn't use an if else is because it could have been touching the left sprite, else it could have been touching anything else, and we don't want an if else. So we just have to have two if statements here. If I'm touching the right, then change blue score. If I'm touching touching the left, change blue score. If I'm touching the right, then change the red score. They get points. And then once I hit the edge, bounce. So what I'm really trying to do is hit it with my hands in the video sensing blocks before it touches the edge. And these are the blocks that should allow you to do that. Okay, do we have any questions or anything as we go along? You may be watching this later. If you have questions, feel free to comment on the video in YouTube or on Facebook, and we'll get back to you with an answer on that. I apologize that I couldn't get the video working within Scratch while it's showing up for the live stream. I was meant to bring another webcam with me, and something that didn't make it into the box to travel over here. So anyway, I hope this was helpful with the video sensing blocks. They're really a powerful tool that Scratch added in this 3.0 version, and I hope you have fun coding with it, trying out something new, seeing what you can do with your own head movement. Maybe you can hit the ball with your head, or do whatever you want to make your game your own. But hope you enjoy it. Have fun. Tune in next week. We're going to continue working with Scratch for a few weeks, and then we may jump into some Roblox coding as we move into July. But if you have any questions or have any suggestions on things you'd like to learn about, I'd be happy to learn with you. And that's what these are really for, is I'm learning a lot as well. So thanks for the opportunity, and hope you have a good day. Bye.